On the news, petrol tanker explosion kills 2 on Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway. Appeal court sets aside order nullifying Bayelsa APC primaries. And Congo targets December to contain Ebola outbreak. Many thanks for joining us on News Now on TV360 Nigeria. 2 persons have been confirmed dead with 6 others injured after a petrol tanker exploded on the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway. No fewer than 17 vehicles were also destroyed in the inferno. Confirming the incident, spokesperson for the State Fire Service, Muinot Adeleke Ashimi, said the tanker developed a gear fault and skidded off the road as the driver attempted to maneuver the situation. Following this, the tanker overturned and burst into flames. The fire then spread to surrounding vehicles, and according to the fire service, the dead include a man and a woman. The fire, which began around 12:05 a.m. on Friday morning, was eventually put out around 4 a.m. An appeal court sitting in Port Harcourt has ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to recognize David Leon as the candidates of the All Progressives Congress for Saturday's governorship polls in Bayelsa State. Ruling on a motion ex parte, the court set aside the judgment of the Federal High Court sitting in Yenagoa that nullified the primaries through which Leon emerged flag bearer for the party. In its judgments, the court held that Leon remains the candidate of the APC, and that's for the governorship polls pending the determination of an appeal he filed against the judgment of the lower court. The travails of the APC began when one of its governorship aspirant, Heineken Lokobiri, asked the Federal High Court in Yenagoa to disqualify Leon and declare him the authentic candidate of the party. But instead, the court nullified the primaries conducted by the APC. Still with the judiciary, the Supreme Court says it's dismissed the appeal of the People's Democratic Party and its presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar because they failed to prove the allegations against President Muhammadu Buhari and the All Progressives Congress. Atiku and his party, through their lawyers, alleged that President Buhari and the APC did not win the February 23rd presidential polls. The duo also challenged President Buhari's educational qualification to hold the office of president. In a unanimous summary judgment on October 30, the 7-man panel of the Apex Court dismissed the appeal for lacking in merit. Explaining further why it struck out the appeal, the Apex Court on Friday held that the appellant failed to prove that Buhari is not educated up to secondary school level. The submissions read by Justice John Okoro also held that the failure of the appellants to call credible witnesses was fatal to their case, as they presented only 5 witnesses, including a star witness who relied on hearsay evidence. Meanwhile, neither the PDP nor Atiku have reacted to the development. Meanwhile, the Court of Appeal in Abuja has dismissed a case filed by the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Great Oboru, challenging the election victory of Governor Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State. Oboru had approached the appellate court in a bid to overturn the September judgment of the Elections Tribunal that dismissed its petition seeking the cancellation of the March 2019 elections. But in a unanimous ruling, a 5-man panel of the court dismissed the appeal on grounds that Oboru was unable to prove the case. Following this, the court affirmed the decisions of the State Election Petitions Tribunal, which upheld Okowa's victory. Okowa is serving a 2nd term as the governor of Delta State. Preparations are in top gear for the Kogi and Bayelsa State gubernatorial elections as thousands of police officers arrived both states ahead of Saturday's polls. Earlier in the month, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, had announced that a total of 66,241 men of the force would be deployed to maintain peace and order during the elections. Out of that number, 35,200 would be deployed to Kogi State, while 31,041 officers will be drafted to Bayelsa. In Kogi State, security operatives have been deployed to the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), while some have been posted to locations identified as black spots. The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has ordered the immediate posting and redeployment of some state commissioners of police. The affected states include Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Ogun, Kano, Edo, Bauchi, and Lagos. Nkeruem Akpan is now the new commissioner for Cross River, while Kenneth Abramson was deployed to Akwa Ibom. Imoimi Edgar will take over as the police commissioner in Ogun State, while Habu Ahmed will oversee the police affairs in Kano. Others affected in the shake-up are Lawal Jimeta, who was redeployed to Edo State, Philip Sulemaku, who takes over as Bauchi State Commissioner, and Odumusu Olusegun is now the new police commissioner in Lagos State. The Inspector General of Police has charged the newly posted officers to improve on the gains of their predecessors in the areas of public safety and crime fighting. The Nigerian Navy have just concluded a 5-day training exercise tagged the Grand African Memo hosted by the Central Navy Command, Nigerian Army, Nigerian Navy. The simulation exercise was organized to check the illegal practices in the Nigerian maritime domain, which is becoming a threat to activities of the sector. The training exercise attracted men and officers of the French Navy and was conducted on the Gulf of Guinea. Deshawa Odishaga now reports.
Crimes like piracy, sea robbery, crude oil theft, among others, are constantly threatening the Nigerian maritime domain, its networks of oil and gas installations and associated shipping. As part of efforts to address this menace, the Nigerian Navy has organized this 5-day training exercise. The simulation exercise is in partnership with France and other international navies.
This exercise will enable us also to practice some of the evolutions that are required at sea to counter piracy, crude oil theft, as well as search and rescue, among others. Thirdly, the exercise will enable us to coordinate our processes regarding arrest and detention of vessels and persons found to be engaged in criminal activities in the maritime domain. To do that, we have a statutory document, which is the Harmonized Standard Operating Procedure for the arrest and detention of vessels and persons that are involved in illegal activities in the maritime domain.
Exercise of this nature provides a platform to exercise the ship and her crew. So, I am very satisfied with the level of competence, the professional ability in which my officers and men have discharged their responsibilities and duties. As you were earlier briefed by the FOC, Central Naval Command, Rear Admiral SS Garba earlier on, and the Officer and Tactical Command, the Gulf of Guinea has a lot of challenge in terms of maritime crimes that do happen in the maritime domain.
During this exercise, an illegal French pirate ship was intercepted with all crew members arrested. Noting this achievement, men and officers of the French Navy expressed readiness to rid Gulf of Guinea of all maritime crimes.
Began 2 days ago and even 3 days ago on Monday, and the French ship is navigating in the Gulf of Guinea and collaborating and exercising with various countries, various African countries. 2 days ago it was with Cameroon, today with Nigeria, and all the themes that are dealt with are like piracy, like today. So fight against piracy, fight against pollution. It was the theme of the exercise 2 days ago, and for instance, illegal fishing, which will be the next exercise for this ship, and it's to work together with all the African countries in the Gulf of Guinea at the same time, at the same moment, and in the same place.
So we proposed a scenario to help to work together to see how they train, how we train, and to learn from each other, to improve our interoperability for both navies to work together.
Given that Nigeria relies on the sea for about 90% of its import and export activities, with oil being its major source of revenue, the thorny issue of insecurity in its maritime domain will remain a major threat to its economic development if left unchecked. Adeshawa Odushoga, TV360, Nigeria.
President Muhammadu Buhari has sympathized with the family of a former Minister of Information, Alex Akinyele, who died on Thursday night. According to a statement signed by his media aide, Femi Adesina, President Buhari condoled with the family of Akinyele and the government and people of Ondo State, including his friends and professional colleagues, urging them to take solace in the lasting legacies of the former minister. Akinyele also served as chairman of National Sports Commission and chairman of the National Reconciliatory Committee. President Buhari added that Akinyele's discipline and diligence were always obvious to those who worked closely with him, and his love for the nation, which was, quote, zealously demonstrated through providing exemplary leadership, end of quote. The president also prayed that God grants the soul of the former minister eternal rest and comfort to all members of his family. The sum of 12.4 billion naira was unlawfully added to the 2019 budget. This is according to Bolaji Owasunoye, chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. Owasunoye also announced that the anti-graft agency last month stopped the federal government from disbursing the sum of 9.2 billion naira. The ICPC boss said this while giving a report on the tracking of constituency projects in the country, adding that budget padding is still prevalent in ministries, departments and agencies due to poor oversight functions. He said they have broken down the 2019 budget and are going to publicly announce what project is allocated to each state. He also invited Nigerians to call the ICPC and ask for details of the budget and government projects and that they would oblige, adding that it was a more effective way of fighting corruption. The West Africa Examinations Council has released the second series of its senior school certificate examination for private candidates. Adeshawa Odushoga reports that over 35.1% of the more than 94,000 people who sat for the examination obtained credits in the minimum of 5 subjects, including English and mathematics.
6 weeks after the West African Examination Council conducted senior school certificate examination for private candidates in its 5 member countries, the result has been released. In Nigeria, a total of 94,884 candidates sat for the examination, which is prerequisite for getting a tertiary education. Announcing the results, head of WAEC in Nigeria, Oluwadenipekun, notes an improvement when compared to the first series.
33,304 candidates, representing 35.10%, obtained credits and above, a minimum of 5 subjects, including English language and mathematics, out of which 16,431 were male and 16,873 were female, representing 49.34% and 50.66% respectively. We have been in touch with many states' Ministry of Education to see how Council can partner with the Ministry of Education to share knowledge with teachers on what they can do to improve on their internal assessments in schools, believing that that will also have a direct consequence and effect on the performances of their students or candidates in all external examinations, of course, including WAS.
In the first of the 2019 series of the examination written in January, only 26.08% of candidates obtained credits in minimum of 5 subjects, which includes English and mathematics. Despite an improvement in the performance of candidates who sat for the second series, Denipekun says he is not satisfied with the results.
The Council is doing a lot of things and to affect positively the performances of the candidates in this examination and other examinations of the Council. And one thing that we are about to unveil is an enriched e-learning portal that will address the concerns of the candidates or even the students. Work is at an advanced stage to ensure that that portal is enriched and is made much more interesting to students and other stakeholders that may want to know why candidates are not doing well in a particular area of the syllabus and what they can do to bring about improvement in their performances.
The Senior School Certificate examination for private candidates is gradually being accepted by more Nigerians due to its flexibility. The first series had a total of 11,892 candidates, but that number is more than quadrupled, with more than 94,000 people sitting for the second series. Adeshawa Dushoga, TV360, Lagos, Nigeria.
You're still watching news now on TV360 Nigeria. We'll be joined by Fidelia Aguncha for business stories in just a moment.
Corruption not in my country.
Now, yeah?
Yes, Oga.
Okay.
Where I go come find 300 naira change?
I better try look for change now. When they do business. Hey, Timmy. I did, bro. I be. I beg, give me 200 naira. Make I take sort out this guy. If let's say no get change.
Take it, give us.
I said 200.
Give her 100 naira.
Yeah.
Okay, I agreed to pay 200.
How much you think they carry people from that place we carry on the chair?
Okay.
Why they touch me?
Now 100 naira. He agreed to pay.
Because that was what you said was the fair. Why you not go pay you? Why you they extort your customer? You see this corruption, what would they hear for news? They see for people everywhere. This is corruption, not in our country.
Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
You're welcome back. It's now time for business with Fidelia Aguncha. Hello, Fidelia.
Hi, Aneta.
Now, we're seeing more bilateral relations these days between Nigeria and its West African neighbors. Please bring us up to date with that.
Well, the reopening of Nigeria's land borders seems to be in sight with the signing of an agreement between Nigeria, Benin, and Niger Republic. The three countries have agreed to establish a joint border patrol team comprising the police, customs, navy, immigration, and state security services to check the issues of smuggling across its borders. The decision was reached during a tripartite committee meeting held in Abuja. The patrol team will be holding its first meeting on the 25th and 26th of November 2019 to agree on the modalities of its operations and also recommend a date for the opening of the Nigerian border. Take a listen.
The meeting acknowledged smuggling of goods, humans, as well as human trafficking as collective violation of ECOWAS protocols on ETLS and free movement that pose severe economic and security threats to intra-regional trade and free movement. The delegation, consequently, the meeting took note of all the concerns raised and agreed on the following: establishment of a monitoring and evaluation committee of the three countries with the mandate to ensure actions that would facilitate and enhance the suppression of smuggled goods and other related matters. The Monitoring and Evaluation Committee is to ensure the full implementation of the adopted mandate of the Joint Anti-Smuggling Human Trafficking Committee, and establishment of a joint border patrol team comprising the police, customs, immigration, navy, and state security services of the three countries. The team is to hold its first meeting in Abuja from the 25th to the 26th of November 2019. The patrol team is to agree on the modality to carry out its operation and recommend the opening of the borders.
Between January and August this year, the Central Bank of Nigeria has injected about $25.68 billion into the foreign exchange market to stabilize the naira. The CBN usually intervenes in the foreign exchange market by injecting liquidity about 3 times a week. The intervention is provided to authorize dealers in the wholesale segment of the market, as well as other sectors of the economy such as agriculture, manufacturing, and small as well as medium enterprises segment. The customers that require foreign exchange for invincibles such as tuition fees, medical payments, and basic travel allowance, among others, are also allocated funds from the intervention. Oil prices gained on Friday after OPEC's forecast for oil demand next year fueled hopes that the producer group and allies will maintain supply cuts when they meet to discuss policy on output next month. Optimism that the United States and China may soon sign an agreement to end their trade war helped support prices after White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow said the deal was getting close, citing what he called very constructive discussions with Beijing. Brent crude futures were up 19 cents at $62.47 a barrel, having dropped 9 cents on Thursday, while U.S. crude surged 21 cents at $56.98 a barrel after falling 0.6% in the previous session. The rosy mood came after the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, said on Thursday it expected demand for its oil to fall in 2020. Up next is a review of activities on the stock market after this break. Don't go away. Slowly, investors are regaining confidence in Nigeria's equities market as trading for this week wraps up in the positive. 3 days of gains pushed the value of the all share index higher by 537 points, which is the biggest weekly gain since September 27. The market capitalization is not left out. It began trading for this week at 12.8 trillion naira, but it currently stands at 13.071 trillion naira. Guinness Nigeria PLC leads the pack of 21 gainers, driving this uptrend with a 2 naira 6 kobo boost in its share price. It is closely followed by Flour Mill Nigeria PLC right here, Nigeria Brewers and Cement Company of Northern Nigeria with a combined growth of 3 naira in value. Well, to the losers chart, it was quite a bad day for MTN Nigeria, whose value is shrinking by 0.9%. The banking index, however, had it worse, with its 3 biggest equities topping the losers chart, and that's Guaranty Trust Bank right here, Zenith, and Access Bank. Well, in summary, the banking equities were the most traded equities today, making up 80% of the total trade value, which comes in at about 5.5 billion naira. It was also green across key markets across the world, FTSE, Dow, and Nikkei. And this is coming after the U.S. announced that it is getting close to reaching a trade deal with China. That's it from the world of business. It's back to Annetta.
Thanks for that update, Fidelia. Really good there. It's a bullish end of the week.
Indeed. Great news.
And there's also good news in the DRC, as President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, says he's hopeful that the Ebola epidemic in his country will be eradicated by the end of this year. Tshisekedi's assurance is coming a day after health officials introduced 2 vaccines to fight the epidemic, which has been declared the second deadliest outbreak on record. The epidemic began in August 2018 in North Kivu province before spreading to neighboring Ituri and South Kivu. Since then, over 2,000 people, including dozens of health workers, have died in the outbreak. Manchester City has lost its appeal challenging UEFA's decision to investigate the club for alleged breach of financial fair play rules. The Court of Arbitration for Sport said this in a statement released on Friday. UEFA launched an investigation after a German newspaper, Der Spiegel, published leaked documents alleging City had inflated the value of a multi-million-pound sponsorship deal, misleading European football's governing body. The club, which has severally denied any wrongdoing, had argued that UEFA did not have the authority to bring an FFP case against them. But CAS has now referred City to UEFA's financial watchdog. If found guilty, the club could face a Champions League ban. And that is on News Now. I am Annetta Felix. Thanks for watching.